Welcome everybody to episode something or other. Doesn't really matter anymore. Today we're going to talk about drip email, and a lot of people have asked me how drip email is useful in this whole process. Is it even useful? So we've gone through the whole LinkedIn process, and LinkedIn is amazing, but you want to get them off LinkedIn and onto email as quickly as possible. Actually, you want to get them off LinkedIn and onto a phone call as quickly as possible, but email is the next best thing. I'm going to talk about a lot of that stuff today, and a lot of what we're going to chat to about, I've actually already written in a book that I wrote probably about 10 years ago. Yes, that was a long time ago. It's almost as old as I am. Not quite though. So I'm going to start taking you guys through this book. And just letting a few extra people coming in. Got a nice, good, tight group of people today. Quite a lot of people, which is great. Okay, good. So I'm going to start to share my screen, guys. And the way I'm going to show you guys today is I'm going to take you through my the book. And the book is called The Secret is in the Journey. I'm going to send you guys a link to the book. You guys might already have it. It was in the original email, but I'll also put it in the online recordings page. So I wrote this a while ago, Open-Minded Marketing for Sustainable Relationships. Now, what I'm going to be talking to a lot of guys about today is drip email, but why drip email and the purpose of drip email? Because if you try to sell something, you're dead. So I'm going to talk to you about this concept called relationship data sale. Relationship data sale. So there's a lot of metaphors. I've given you the waterfall metaphor. I've given you the chicken and egg metaphor, given you all these metaphors, and they all do come together. But at the end of the day, the goal is obviously to get on the call and obviously to just build these relationships. And it's all about building the relationships. So I'm going to take you through these step by step. I'm not going to read the whole thing, obviously. I'm going to take, I'm going to skip most of it, but you guys can read this in your own time if you want to, but I'm going to give you the essence of it right now. And it's done with a few funny memes. So I like to write, with a little bit of humor because I'm a funny guy. And this is essentially what it's going to be about. It's going to be about the fact that relationships are everything. Everything. Your first goal in your business is to build relationships. And you don't have to always be in front of a camera doing videos. You don't always have to be doing Zoom meetings or face-to-face meetings, although that really, really does help. But at some level, every message that you send out needs to be building relationships. And that is the first step. From relationship comes data, and from data comes self. I'm going to get to that in a minute. All right. So the example I always give here is when the first settlers approached the shores of America, the natives didn't see them. So they had these ships that were on the shores, and they would look out into sea, and they couldn't see the ships. It was only when the people started landing did they actually start to see them. And there's stories about shamans that noticed some differences in the water. But the concept of a ship on the ocean was so far-fetched to them that their eyes couldn't make sense of it. It's a really interesting story. And it's kind of that kind of idea that says, if you are told that you can increase your response rates by a few percent, you'll believe me. But if I tell you you can increase your response rates by 1,000%, you'll think I'm a nutcase conspiracy theorist. I can't possibly be right. It's like, let's imagine this engineer that you tell an engineer that you've increased his efficiency by 8%. That engineer is going to scrutinize everything that you've said to him. So engineers built some kind of device and you say, I've managed to increase it by 8%, he'll take you seriously. But if you tell him that it's 800%, he's going to think you're completely nuts. There's no possible way. So it's this concept of limiting beliefs, or what the ancient Greek called schema. It's the limited beliefs around you. It's like this bubble that you grow up with. And if anything comes at you from outside that bubble of your beliefs, you will do anything in your power to reject it. You just won't believe it. And it's like that with marketing and advertising. It really is. And this little diagram explains the caveman trying to sell the wheel, and they're basically going, sorry, and just too busy. And you're going to see a lot of these in the explanations that I'm going to talk about. And it is possible to significantly increase your response rates. So drip email, following the relationship data process, is a really interesting concept, and you get the emails from LinkedIn. So LinkedIn starts the process. LinkedIn is most of your messages are from direct message, but you can set up an automated series of emails that can start drip going out. And guess what? It's still around the captivating one-liner. It's still the process of the captivating one-liner. It's still everything that it's about. So the idea is that conventional thinking is unnatural. Everything is about sell, sell, sell. You've got to stop selling. Selling is the third step. The first step is build relationships. The output of a relationship, no, it's not selling, it's data. If you work with a doctor, right, you sit in front of your doctor, a doctor doesn't sell to you and go, here's 20% of cough medicine. A doctor asks you questions and diagnoses. To diagnose, you need data and information. That is why when I send out a proposal to a client when I'm selling, 95% of them accept it. It's not, a proposal is not there to sell a product or service. The sale has been done before that. The proposal is just a formality. It's just to give them something in writing to sign off. You should not be sending out proposals unless the deal's already done. As weird as that sound, this is one of the greatest sales techniques you can ever use. Don't send out proposals. In some cases, it's a bit different because, sometimes people need 3 quotes and, you're just one of those 3 quotes and you kind of hope for the best, or you're writing up tenders, that kind of thing. But for the most part, especially when you're selling your egg, the egg is already sold. They've already done it. They know what the cost is. They know what the price is. You've got the relationship strong enough. They're ready to go ahead. And that's the relationship process. But some people are not ready for that relationship. So you send out a drip email series. You work with LinkedIn, you pull the email address out of LinkedIn and you start sending them an email like episodes of a book, chapters, episode 1, chapter 1, episode 2, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4. So every new person that gets started, we call it a journey. Every person starts at episode 1 of those journey when they're brand new, and some people are on episode 8. And you guys are all on my journey. You've received drip emails from me, my most trusted network. So you know how that drip email works. It builds a relationship over time and it keeps you in regular contact. But those emails never sell. It's just teaching them something that's really, really interesting. So until you know your prospect, do not under any circumstances try to sell him anything. Apologies for using the word him. I realize now my gender bias mistake. Please do not hold me against it. I deeply apologize for my lack of wokeness back then. I was young. But the point is, great salesmen don't guess. They know their customer inside out. In other words, the proposal is very specific to what their needs are. When you lay that egg is exactly what they're looking for. And you will get 100% or close to it acceptance rate. Sounds crazy, but it isn't. Don't give out a proposal until you've built the relationship. You've got the information and you know what they can afford to pay, and it's basically accepted. And that's essentially how it is. It's all about building relationships. Your first priority in your business is to build relationships. 100% true. Go out there and build relationships with people. That's your goal. Do it, do it, do it, do it. Every message is about building trust, credibility, which is about your relationships. So where does this go wrong? It goes wrong is because we've been indoctrinated with this bitch of a flipping concept called advertising. I've probably spent 1% of any money that I've ever had on advertising. I never advertised. For 20 years, I've never advertised. Just occasionally I'll throw a little bit here or a little bit there for certain reasons. It's almost never happened. I've very, very seldom spent money on advertising. It's just not necessary in my life. It's not part of my existence. If you have massive budgets, then great, you can do it. But relationships are much better than advertising because those relationships are going to hold you in much better stead. And what ends up happening is because of this concept of advertising, we go out there and we start spamming people. Advertising, intrusive advertising is just another kind of spam. There's no difference. And what you want to do is you want to build trust, because if a customer trusts you, they will openly tell you what they need and want. A doctor has credibility. You will tell your doctor the most intimate secrets. Because you've told your doctor your most intimate secrets, that doctor is going to be able to diagnose with a very, very specific form of medication. And what is the probability that you're going to buy that little piece of advice from him? 100%. You're not just going to buy his advice and pay for his time or her time. See, I'm getting better. You're also going to buy that pharmaceutical product that he's or she's basically selling it to. See what's going on? That is how you sell. You diagnose, and you guys need to become great diagnosers. If you become a great diagnoser, you become a great salesperson. And Tuan, if you're listening, I know you're so terrified of the phone. It's because you're thinking that the phone call is a sales call. Your sales calls are not sales calls. They are diagnostic calls. That's what it's about. And your drip email series is about building the relationship so you can build a strong enough relationship so that you can then get on a call or a communication with that person so that you can get data from them. This is what's happening. The closing of a sale and the process of data gathering should be natural. In other words, do not try elicit data from people against their will or without their permission. So it's very soft and it's very gentle. And that's why LinkedIn, you reach out for LinkedIn, you're chatting to them, you've got their data in front of you, you build the relationship, pull their email address, start a drip email series or a journey as we like to call it. And you just have this kind of process. You have this machine and you build that trust and relationships over time. Once again, information is used to diagnose and identify a suitable product that meets their requirements. If you diagnose a specific product for specific needs, you're much more likely to have that product or service or proposal accepted. Don't be pushy. Don't be manipulative. One does not simply destabilize an African warlord by putting up Facebook statuses. In other words, don't think that just by throwing a few Facebook ads or anything like that, you're suddenly going to create an entire new business for yourself. It doesn't work that way. It takes time and it requires building of relationships. Stop bowing to social media. You can reach out for that at your own time. Social media is not the greatest thing that it says it is. Social media is designed to make money for themselves, not for you. It's very difficult to get social media to work. There are some people and agencies that can get it to work. And like I've always said, the best people that do AdWords in this world right now, and the best people that do SEO, and the best people who know advertising are not working for agencies. They're working for themselves and they're making a truckload of money doing it for themselves. That's not to say there are some brilliant agencies out there that can do a really, really good job. You just have to really understand that you're working out your ROI metrics. You have to be very careful. So I'm not a fan of advertising, although I do it on some occasions. So I'm not saying that advertising and digital agencies should not be used. They definitely should. You just have to be very, very strategic in your approach. And relationships will always come first. And so I tell them, it's so obvious, guys. It's really obvious when you just go back to the relationship building process. I was wondering why the Frisbee kept getting bigger. Then it hit me because it's just becomes so obvious, guys. It really, really did. And I'll tell you my story. You don't have to read through this, obviously, but you can read this in your own time. But how I realized that when I was working with drip email series, by the way, I was one of the first people ever to start using the concept of an email journey. It wasn't called drip email. It wasn't called sequences. We called them journeys. And you can imagine 12 years ago was 10 years ago. We literally built a system and built an entire business around email, this concept of an email journey. And what's really interesting is it's usually the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th emails that actually start to get the results, not the 1st or the 2nd or the 3rd. My record is 9 years. It took me 9 years once to get a client. I've regularly had clients that have come to me after 7, 8 years. Happens often. Yep, sounds crazy, but you just keep on going, you keep on going, and you keep on going. So this is what relationship data sale is about. You're building relationships. So your drip email series is episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, and it's around your captivating one-liner. Take your captivating one-liner, take the article you've written, break it up into a series of emails, pull the email address out of LinkedIn, start them on that drip email series. We can do it for you. Obviously, we've got the tech. We can do it all for you. We can automate that process if you want to. So we can use LinkedIn and email and do that on your behalf. Or you can use one of the other many drip emails out there. I'm sure some of the guys in the group will be able to tell you which one they use, but there's millions of them. They're very cheap. So come to us or use your own. But this concept of an email journey is really clever because you and I are taught to think in 2 dimensions, that an advertisement should generate a response. This is linear and is not as effective. A journey is multidimensional. It can take weeks or months to get a response, but the response will come. So you're nurturing relationships over time. It's the same process, guys, that I've told you. It's the same process. Just build those relationships. Use the captivating one-liner and build your credibility and build respect. That's your goal. That's your goal. This is why I said, guys, the 4th email received the highest response. This is quite amazing. Now, what you can also do, and I don't want to go into too much detail about this today, but you can have forms that are linked to your email. So while your drip emails going out and your messages on your LinkedIn can start linking to forms, and they can fill out the forms. The forms can have more information on them, and those informations can diagnose as a sale what they need for you to have a conversation with them. So you can get data via forms. Data doesn't have to come specifically by a one-on-one communication. I'm just a bigger fan of one-on-one communication. But I totally get that forms are a great way. So you build these little online web forms, and they're really, really useful as well. So you're constantly getting more and more information from people that will help you diagnose like a doctor and give them a product that specifically suits their needs. Okay, so do you still advertise? It's fine if you want to. You can do it. It's pretty cheap. It's very competitive these days. Don't advertise unless you're working with someone that's really, really good at it. Don't waste your time, guys. Seriously, and just don't spend too much money. Spend your time and effort building response rate. That's your goal. All right. So relationship, data, sale. This is what I talk about, and I've told you heaps on. There's some really cool videos here that you can click to. As you guys know, I did a lot of Kung Fu. And there's a couple of amazing, not just Kung Fu, but some incredible videos here that you guys can watch. There's a video cutting a speeding bullet in half, eyes closed with a samurai sword. This guy's really cool. He's a Japanese master that has learned to just shout at people and they fall over because he's learned to understand the power of using his kiai in Japan specifically. It's awesome stuff. This guy would jump into 30 centimeters of water. He would high dive. It's so cool. And one of my favorite videos of all time is the power of a feather. Now, which I won't ruin it for you. The point is this: I'm trying to show you a couple of videos and get you to break your mind. So not break your mind. Well, sort of break your mind, but to break you out of this notion that you're stuck with conventional response rates. You're not. You can get 10x, 100x the normal response rates. You just got to follow it. And if you're always building your reputation with every message that goes out, suddenly what you end up with is you're in a situation where you are building these amazing relationships, and most of it's automated. Your LinkedIn is done for you. You don't have to use an automation tool. You can get humans to do it. We don't use automation. We use humans to do it on behalf of our clients. But the point is, it's that waterfall that I always talk about. The waterfall starts at the top and it looks like nothing's happened as it's quietly, softly, gently falling through the water, hardly ever makes a sound as the waterfall drops. And when it hits the bottom, it makes a huge splash. That's the momentum that's getting built. That's the power that these martial arts masters can do. That's the same thing with what you're doing. You're building that momentum, but the only way you're going to build your momentum is if you build it by building these relationships. Data is the output of those relationships. Boy meets girl at a bar. Boy needs to ask some questions and get to know girl and vice versa. You need data. You need information. You're not going to get married on the first date. It's unlikely. You've got to swap information. You've got to get to know each other. The data is the natural output of a great relationship. A great relationship means people will tell you more about themselves. The same with a business. You'll learn more about someone's business, the stronger the relationship is. So this becomes an intersecting circle. Stronger relationship, more data. Stronger relationship, more data. Then you can diagnose and become a sale. That's your goal, guys. The sale comes right at the end. You only sell something when you've got a 95% or greater chance of closing the deal. The most important ingredient is a human element. No machine can replace a human being. And I think you guys know that now. Sure, you can automate, you can have your drip email, you can have your email journeys going out. It builds your relationship, but it's about you. You've got to be out there. You've got to be bold. And it's really difficult to do anything else other than build your relationships as a small business owner. And just do it, guys. Make really, really strong relationships. And that's how I work with the Connect Collaborative in Australia, and we'll have them worldwide. I mean, they're worldwide. And putting together a nice little group of tight, people that advocate for each other. If you guys want to learn more about the Connect Collaborative, just ask me and you guys can join. And we're putting together a really nice little tight group of people that will advocate for each other. It's the art of working with each other to help each other grow, because referral business is the highest form of business, but it comes to the same process. Build relationships, guys. The purpose of the journey is to build relationships. That is what it comes down to. This continuous conversation between you and the other party. Once they perceive you offering real value, their trust in you grows and they willingly contribute to the conversation by giving you data. I wrote this over 10 years ago. It's still completely true today. So stop emailing, spamming and don't worry, newsletters, complete waste of time. Start these emails, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. Nobody's going to watch season 3, episode 5 of Game of Thrones as their first episode. Nobody in their right mind would do that. Everybody goes to episode 1, and that's what you do. You create episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, and you grow them. And don't forget, although you're not getting a response necessarily, it's the waterfall quietly gaining momentum in the background. Okay, so talks a little bit more about the journey. Yes. Journeys are used to build relationships and trust. Absolutely. Here's an example. This is quite an old, man. This was so long ago, but it's a great, I don't want to go through it. You guys can go through it. It was the coolest example of how this lady tried to take a journey and got it wrong, but with a little bit of work, we helped her tweak it. And what a completely and utterly, in fact, this page is probably one of the most important. So that's why I'm not going to show you now, because I want you guys to come back and read it. You're going to have to come back and read it now. Unless you guys are watching this and you guys are very clever and you just hit pause and now you rereading it from there. But read some good stuff in this book, and it's really quick. You can read it in 15 or 20 minutes. So this whole process is to get you to stop doing what you're naturally inclined to do. You are naturally inclined to sell and advertise and talk about your product or service or benefit. That's not actually natural. Talking about a product or service and going out there and try to sell is not natural. I was watching Rome again, that TV series, one of the greatest TV series that's ever made. It's freaking brilliant. And they have, it was in ancient Rome, they had all these lawyers. And if you wanted a lawyer, you would go to the streets, the steps of the court or wherever that was, the magistrate's office. And the lawyers would all tout for business. Hey, I want to be a lawyer. I'll be a lawyer. I'm the greatest lawyer in the world. And they would advertise themselves, and they would say, look how great, what a wonderful lawyer I am. And they would basically fight, and they would tout for business, which has now become illegal. Why? Because lawyers are not allowed to advertise anymore, because it hurts the reputation. So learn from people who know what they're doing. Accountants, they don't advertise. It's professionals don't advertise. It's all referrals. It's all word of mouth. It's all reputation. So why the hell are you doing it? Build your reputation. And you can do it with a large number of people by building these email journeys and by getting onto LinkedIn and by building an email database and using a combination of LinkedIn and email. Okay. So this is her example, which you guys are going to have to come back and look. So like it or not, you need to put aside whatever product or service you're selling and focus your business squarely on communication and relationships. That's your goal. And you might think, but I'm not selling anything. You are, guys. You're selling yourself. It's so important. It's so important that you do this. Many people, especially ignorant people, want to punish you for speaking the truth, for being correct, for being you. Never apologize for being correct or for being years ahead of your time. If you're right and you know it, speak your mind. Even if you are a minority of one, the truth is still the truth. So don't be afraid to do this, guys. You and your individual personalities are what make you special. So think, if a person is not prepared to give you information about themselves or their business, are they going to spend money with you? Read that again, guys. If a person is not prepared to give you information about themselves or their business, are they going to spend money with you? Of course not. So don't send them a proposal advertised with them. If you're unable to determine which particular product or service is best for that individual, are they going to spend money with you? If a person doesn't trust you, are they going to spend money with you? Of course not. Until they trust you enough to give you the information you require, do not sell to them. Resist the urge to ramble on about your business and how great you are. Instead, ask questions to identify how you can add value to their lives. In the Connect Collaborative that we talked about before, that Australian group, network building group I told you about, he or she who asks the most questions wins. That's what your goal is to do. Your goal is to understand those other people and to get to know them. It's really an amazing art, and it's completely natural. All right, here's a couple of examples that go through them. But once again, what I'm really trying to do is just break you out of conventional thinking, guys. Conventional thinking may feel natural to you. It's wrong. It's totally wrong. Go back to true natural thinking. All right. So what is a relationship? Personal touch, human beings talking with human beings, regular contact. This is what makes up a relationship, a great relationship. It's personal. It requires regular contact. If you think you've got a great relationship with someone and you've only contacted them once, you don't have a relationship with them. You need regular communication. And finally, trust. You put these three things together, you have a relationship. These are the three ingredients that make up great drip email journeys. Be personal. They must come from you. Stay in regular contact with them and build trust and credibility. Don't sell. This is the relationship data sell principle. Okay, it goes through a lot of detail, guys. I don't have to go through too much detail. You guys can read this in your own time, but I want you guys to really understand the importance of being you. First, be a teacher. Second, be an expert. Then you can start talking about sales. You're always a teacher first and foremost. Always show them. You guys have all got something to teach me. I'm good at what I do in my little niche. You guys are good at what you do in your little niche. So start getting out there and showing people. Start getting out there and teaching people. That's what your journey is designed to do. Your journey is designed to grow the relationship you have with your database. Do this because you want to ultimately generate referrals. And this is important. You might have great people in your database. They're not ready to buy from you, but they will also know those who do, and it becomes referrals. Really, this is just going into a lot more detail about it. And I don't want to go into too much detail, guys. That's pretty much what I have to say today. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. All this information in this book will go through. It'll teach you a whole bunch of really cool stuff. Goes into a lot of detail about relationship data sell. But once again, it's pretty much what I told you. It's pretty much what I've taught you in the previous episodes. It's just this fact that somehow you've got to break out, get your captivating one-liner, reach out on LinkedIn, avoid the urge to sell, get the waterfall going, build relationships. You'll start to get data back, and then you'll start closing deals. But at the end of the day, guys, you've still got to get out there and do it. It's about you all the time. Okay. Yes, never buy a database. What on earth would you buy a database for? LinkedIn is your database, and it's a database of people that you've contacted in the past, and you've got an actual relationship with them, and it's legal. This talks about bringing out your dead. Bringing out your dead is about bringing out your dead clients, your dormant clients, people that you dealt with 10 years ago, you haven't contacted, old relationships. There's nothing better than going to old relationships, dead relationships, and resurrecting them. There's so much business in those old relationships, guys. Go back to them, start chatting to them, but do it with your captivating one-liner. This is actually a really cool bloody book I wrote. I told you to listen to Cundill. There you go. Cool, guys. So this is it. I don't want to get into any more detail, but there we go. This is the end. The end is near. The end. All right, I'll let you go. I will post this into the chat. We'll take some questions from you guys now. I'll give you guys a link to the ebook. Let me know what you think, and take some questions from the group now. Stop recording, and hopefully you guys got some value from today, and we'll see you next week.